UCLA football has fired offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy after one confusing season leading the Bruins offense. Hi, I'm James the Faithful Angelino Sports with breaking news. The Bruins are looking for new leadership on offense, and if you enjoy talking about UCLA, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We talk UCLA athletics almost every day here. ESPN also reported that offensive line coach Juan Castillo is out. Now, Yahoo News was the first to break the story about Bieniemy, also mentioning that Deshaun Foster has targeted Indiana quarterback coach Tino Sunseri to replace Bieniemy. We'll get to more on Sunseri in just a moment. Foster hired Bieniemy, who became famous with his work with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the idea of switching from a spread offense to a West Coast offense. It had the look of two former NFL running backs, Foster and Bieniemy, deciding that in order to offset the sudden departure of previous head coach Chip Kelly, who left for Ohio State, that they would put the emphasis on returning running backs. UCLA had backs that they believed that they could rely on in TJ Harden and Keegan Jones. Unfortunately, the Bruins finished last in rushing in the Big Ten with just 3.07 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns all year long. They ranked 126th in the nation in scoring with just 18.4 points per game. Moreover, Harden entered the transfer portal to show how unhappy he was with the offense, despite Jones having completed his eligibility. Harden would have been the guy. This is clearly the mark of a man who did not see things potentially getting any better. And he wasn't just the only guy to leave the Bruins program for the portal. Backup quarterback Justin Martin would have first dibs at the gig next year, now that Ethan Garbers had used up his eligibility. Pull the plug. So did wide receiver Logan Loya, who was considered before the season began to be UCLA's most consistent receiver. This talent drain was exacerbated Wednesday, National Early Signing Day. Yes, the Bruins added 17 players, but some of their top targets switched at the last moment, including their most prized recruit, 4-star quarterback commit Madden Ayamaleva, who flipped to Arkansas, along with his committed 3-star teammate, receiver Jace Brown, abandoned UCLA to go to Arkansas. Ayamaleva's father specifically cited Bieniemy's job security as a reason for the change. Now, for me, the hint that something was amiss came in the days before the season opener, when players were telling the LA Times that they were still working on the screen pass. The Times tried to optimistically spin it as an offense that was going heavy on quick decision underneath routes. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait, it's a screen pass and you can't even figure that out? Another problem, which probably also led to the whole thing about not mastering the screenplay, was the heft of Bieniemy's playbook. Consider the play clock in a football game. You want to break the huddle with 15 seconds left to go so that your players can get into their formation, read the defense, make adjustments, hot routes, motion, and so forth. One of the benefits of the Chip Kelly offense was that you could call a play in maybe 4 words. A, B, C, D, break, whatever. Bieniemy's plays had names that read like literature. It took too long to communicate. It took much too long to comprehend. This was evident when UCLA opened the season, and despite winning against Hawaii, struggled to score. The Bruins staggered to 1-5 to start the season, finished 5-7. And frankly, if you watched Bruins football, as I did, you would have to admit the defense rescued UCLA at every single turn all season long. Now, as for Sunseri, Foster's known him since Sunseri was a kid, and Foster played for the Carolina Panthers. Indiana, where Sunseri coaches now, is on the cusp of the college football playoffs. The Hoosiers are 3rd in the Big Ten in yards per play at 6.66, and frankly, they kicked the hell out of UCLA 42-13 at the Rose Bowl earlier this year. How would this change the Bruins? If I were to guess, although Sunseri is not the offensive coordinator with the Hoosiers, Indiana utilizes the RPO, the run-pass option, where the quarterback decides just before the snap if the play that's called is going to be a run or to the air. And I have something to add that is profoundly uncomfortable, but I think if we're honest with ourselves, we have to talk about things that are profoundly uncomfortable. For years, the national press hyped up Bieniemy as a potential NFL head coach. Not just because the Kansas City Chiefs were an offensive machine, but because it would be this great idea to have more black head coaches in the NFL. And Bieniemy was the guy. He was the chosen one. Now, I want to be clear about this. I am by no means a social justice warrior, and I am not an expert on race relations. I believe sports remains one of the few true meritocracies in modern life. And because it's meritocracy, you would be right to suggest that there should be more black coordinators, more black coaches. But if you are going to use the name, Bieniemy's name, and make that your cause, if you're going to make that your case study, you have to have reasons to back it up. Eric Bieniemy at Kansas City was an offensive coordinator in name only. He did not call the plays. Andy Reid called the plays. So yeah, we agree on certain things. It is true that at the start of the NFL season, there were no black offensive coordinators in the NFL at all. The Bears had to clean house before they gave the gig to Thomas Brown. So again, if you say that's an issue, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. It's a fair critique. What I'm saying is something different. I'm saying that in their zeal to add more black head coaches, the national sports press elevated Eric Bieniemy to a level that it looks like he simply didn't deserve. So, because if you think about it, once he left Kansas City, he didn't make things better for the teams that didn't have Patrick Mahomes. He didn't make the Washington Commanders better, and he didn't make UCLA better, which is regrettable, but it had to be done. Because if Foster had kept Bieniemy, it wouldn't be long before you would figure, oh my gosh, there's one less black head coach out there. Yikes. So once again, Eric Bieniemy out as UCLA's defensive coordinator. Don't forget to comment on this clip with your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this clip, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelinos. We talk UCLA almost every day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelinos is a Kian Cortell Queso production. Take care.